Like, did you know what Grey's Anatomy was before you got a phone call that? I mean,
I
there's
thought it was like ER. I was like, that show's kind of like ER, right? The George Clooney show.
Yeah, it was just an email. You know, like, hey, do you know?
so weird to think that like email was around
Exactly.
so long ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was a
Like,
telegram.
Sent a backup fax.
Yeah, it was an email, and I didn't know the show at that point. It was, you know, and there was also a time where, I remember, it was a big discussion because, you know, artists weren't really licensing songs. You know, it was like considered maybe like a sellout thing, or like we were just worried about everything at that point. But like, I think what the saving grace of that exposure was that it wasn't our first song out.
Totally.
You know, and I think it would have been a very different story for this band had that been our first song. And you know, we're just fortunate. The universe was like, okay, no, that's supposed to come second. It
came in at a beautiful time to continue this growth at a moment where like must-see TV in this nation was. I mean, we're talking about double digits, tens of millions of people glued.
It was like kind of felt like afterburners. Like we had already kind of like the rocket had already left the launch pad, and we were like flying. We were like, whoa, this is crazy. And then the Grays thing, without any, you know, none of us had any idea, felt like a whoop, like the afterburners kicked on. We were like, what? You know?
Yeah, and it's like you gotta get your music heard. You know, like just get people to, like, okay, like.
And there was many things that would change your life.
Don't hold it tightly. Like, get your music out there. You know, like whatever. You know, if people are hearing it, that's the point. You know,
it is true though that it was pretty early for the whole idea of music in shows, TV shows, and on TV in general. And it didn't feel. I remember feeling like we were kind of like, oh. Not like we were opposed to it, but it was just such a new concept that felt like that wasn't. Now it's like a known thing. Now it's a goal. Back then it was like, I'm not really sure what, you know, what this will feel like.
When you grow up idolizing, you know, Eddie Vedder in the 90s and stuff, you're kind of like, when somebody says, hey, we want to put your song on a TV show, you're like oh, I want to smash this bottle of wine and say, no way.
Yeah,
you know,
like
not letting the man get us
iPod
down.
commercials were like, that was like, it was cool to get your song and an iPod commercial. And that was about it, right? But yeah, it just opened. It was like such early days for that.
You guys had one of the most historic digital releases of all time.
It ended up being really cool because now in hindsight, what was awesome about it was the narrative piece, you know, like the narrative nature of the songs, and somebody who cared enough to pair that with a narrative of a show, a character, whatever. It's like, it can be really powerful when it's done right. And I don't think we had any idea of how that would happen, you know, but it's cool.
Do we miss iTunes?
Yes.
You know, we've had such a we've had. They launched, you know, iTunes when it was just the timing in life, right? Like our music, you know, our first album, iTunes launched. Everything was happening at the same time, you know, and. You know, I remember having the first generation iPod with the little, like, you know, wheel that you could turn, and you could put 200 songs on there. And you're like, oh my God, I got 200 songs on this thing. And
10 CDs.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that was that it was like only 200 songs.
Right.
Streaming's amazing, and nothing against all of those platforms, but it's like when you had your iPod, it was like similar to your book of CDs, and that's all you had, right? So your choices were just those, which felt a little different, you know?
Yeah, there was still an ownership there. So you, like, even if you bought a digital album, you would hunt for something that you loved on that album.
Oh yeah, make your money worth.
You would be like, okay, I'm gonna find something I like about this record, you know, and you'd find it, and then you'd be like, okay, track 7, that's my song, you know.
It was also fun to look at other people's iPods. And other people's like iTunes, like, you know, oh, what do you have in your, like, you know, what's your library like, you know? It's cool.
Because it's true, like, you have access to everything now, and everything is overwhelming. And like, as much of a blessing as everything is, it's like, how do you really focus your time, attention, and care to anything?
That's so hard. There's so much.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, how many songs are uploaded to, the DSPs now every day? And now it's just like, it's like the bathroom wall at a club,
It's really
it's
hard.
graffiti. It's so much on the walls. You can't absorb it all, So, getting your music heard nowadays is the biggest challenge, and there's just no guarantee with anything. So, like I said, we're fortunate to be just putting music out. Whoever gets to hear it.